A Wall Street research firm sent a human being to stand at the edge of the Strait of Hormuz and file a report. Not a Zoom call, not a satellite feed, a person on the ground. That's the tell. When institutional money sends bodies somewhere, it means they're already repositioning before the news breaks, before the retail panic hits, before the price tag lands on your grocery receipt. 21 miles. That's it. 21 miles of water between Iran and Oman. Through that gap, roughly 20 million barrels of oil move every single day. That's about 20% of the entire world's oil supply, squeezed through one narrow choke point. Right now, there's a war. Iran and Israel are exchanging strikes. The UAE is saying ceasefire isn't enough, and that 21-mile gap, it's the single most valuable piece of water on the planet. Here's what nobody is telling you. You're already paying for this war. You just don't know where to look on the receipt. Let me take you back to 1956. Egypt. Gamal Abdel Nasser has just nationalized the Suez Canal. One announcement, one waterway. The British government, which had considered the canal its own economic artery for decades, is in free fall. Prime Minister Anthony Eden calls it an act of war. The UK, France, and Israel launch a military operation to retake it. It fails. But here's the part they don't teach in school. The real destruction wasn't military. It was financial. Within weeks, the British pound came under catastrophic speculative attack. Foreign reserves collapsed. The UK was forced to go to the International Monetary Fund, hat in hand, for an emergency bailout. One waterway, 70 years ago, brought the British Empire to its economic knees in under 2 months. And the mechanism was identical to what's happening right now. Oil supply disruption, energy price spike, shipping costs explode, inflation spreads through every imported good, currency pressure, central bank forced to respond, borrowing costs rise, housing market tightens, consumer spends less, recession risk. That's not history. That's a transmission diagram. And right now, we're at step 1. So what do you actually do with this information? Not investment tips, not stock picks. 3 principles, permanent ones. They work whether the crisis is the Strait of Hormuz, the Panama Canal drought, a port strike, or the next pandemic. Principle 1, the transmission lag. Every supply shock travels a pipeline. Wholesale reprices first, manufacturing costs absorb it second, shipping and logistics third, retail shelf price last. There is a delay at every stage. Historically, roughly 4 to 8 weeks between each step. The Suez Crisis repriced oil futures within 48 hours of Nasser's announcement. But British consumers didn't feel it at the pump for 6 weeks. 6 weeks is not a long time, but 6 weeks is enough time to understand what's coming and stop pretending you don't. The institutional analyst at the Strait isn't there for the news. He's there to measure the lag window. Most people wait for step 4. They feel the grocery bill spike and say, what happened? The answer happened 6 weeks ago in a 21-mile stretch of water they've never heard of. Principle 2, the commodity chain audit. In any supply shock, are you a buyer of the commodity or a seller? Both exist, and the same event that destroys one side creates enormous value for the other. Most households sit entirely on the buyer side of the oil chain. When oil spikes, their costs go up. Most people have never mapped it. What commodity chains run through my income, my spending, my savings, and which side am I on? When you audit that, you stop being surprised. You start being positioned. Principle 3. The real versus nominal principle. Your savings account says 4.5%. That sounds fine, except a Hormuz disruption pushes oil to $120 a barrel. That spike travels the pipeline. Core inflation jumps to 6, maybe 7%, temporarily, but temporarily is long enough. 4.5% nominal minus 6% inflation equals negative 1.5% in real terms. You are losing purchasing power while watching your balance grow. The number on the screen is a lie a polite, well-formatted, legally accurate lie. Real return is the only number that matters. Geopolitical shocks are when the gap between nominal and real opens the widest and closes the fastest, before most people even noticed it existed. If this is the first time you've understood how a war in the Middle East connects to your mortgage rate, that's the channel. Every week, we take a systemic trap, find its 400-year-old ancestor, and explain the math they never taught you. Subscribe, hit the bell. The next one might be the one that actually saves you some money. Back to that analyst standing at the Strait. He didn't go there to report the news. He went there to read a lag window, to map his position on the commodity chain, to calculate the real return on their exposure before the nominal numbers shifted. He was applying 3 principles, with no political affiliation, no nationalism, no ideology, just the cold arithmetic of how supply shocks travel through the global economy and whose balance sheet absorbs them. The Suez Crisis taught the same lesson in 1956, the oil embargo in 1973, the pandemic supply chain in 2020. Same transmission, same lag, same 2 sides of every commodity chain. The question isn't whether the Strait of Hormuz closes. The question is, when the pipeline starts moving, are you going to be at step 1 or step 4? Because the people at step 4 are the ones saying, I don't understand why everything is getting so expensive. And the people at step 1, they already knew 6 weeks ago.